Man, think about this for a second. You've got a book that was revealed over 14 centuries ago in a world with no satellites, no smartphones, no internet, no electricity, nothing even close to the tech we live with today. And yet, inside those pages, you find passages that sound like they're describing things we're only just beginning to understand, predictions that line up eerily well with modern science and technology. Now, either that's the wildest coincidence in history or there's something way deeper going on here. Tonight, we're diving into those verses, breaking them down and asking the question, how could something so old be this ahead of its time? When we look back at human history, we see countless civilizations rise and fall, each leaving behind fragments of their knowledge, ideas, and predictions. But rarely do we find words that transcend their own time and continue to resonate centuries later, aligning with discoveries made in an age of advanced science and technology. 1400 years ago, the world was very different. People traveled by camel, lit their homes with fire, and relied on oral traditions to pass knowledge down through generations. Yet within a text revealed in that era are descriptions that sound strikingly familiar to things only uncovered in the modern world. This is not about vague symbolism or abstract metaphors. It's about details that speak directly to the language of progress, invention, and discovery. Imagine reading words from the 7th century that describe the universe as expanding long before telescopes or the Big Bang Theory. For centuries, people thought the sky was static, unmoving, and eternal. Then modern science came along and confirmed expansion as a fundamental reality of our cosmos. Or consider the reference to mountains as pegs stabilizing the Earth's crust. At a time when geology was not even recognized as a field of study, these words mirrored what modern research later identified through plate tectonics. These aren't the kind of insights you'd expect from a desert culture with no access to the tools of modern observation. Now think about the descriptions of embryonic development. Today, doctors can map every stage of life forming inside the womb, thanks to ultrasound and microscopic imaging. But centuries earlier, a text described the process step by step from a drop of fluid to a clot-like substance to a lump of flesh and eventually into bones clothed with flesh. Medical scholars who studied these verses have been astonished at the accuracy, considering the historical context. How could such precise knowledge exist in a world where medicine itself was in its infancy? What makes this even more intriguing is how these insights are delivered, not in the form of scientific jargon, but in simple language that an ordinary person of that time could grasp and yet complex enough for a scientist today to marvel at. It's almost as if the words are layered, offering meaning to both the unlettered shepherd of the desert and the researcher peering into a microscope or telescope. The words stand timeless, neither outdated by progress nor confined by the limitations of their era. When we look deeper, we also find references that speak to technology itself. The spread of communication, the way information travels instantly across the globe, the rise of tools that connect humanity in ways never imagined, all hinted at in verses about people being brought together, voices carrying far, and records being preserved beyond human capability. These are not simply poetic musings, they echo the very reality of our interconnected world today, where satellites orbit above and data is stored in clouds unseen yet always accessible. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Qur'an is how it engages with the human mind, constantly urging reflection, questioning, and exploration. It doesn't just present information and expect blind acceptance. Instead, it challenges people to look around, to study the world, and to think deeply about creation. This approach feels remarkably modern, almost like a dialogue between faith and reason. In an age where science and technology dominate the way we understand reality, it is striking to see a text from centuries ago emphasize observation, evidence, and inquiry as essential tools for human understanding. Throughout its verses, there are countless reminders to observe the heavens, to watch how the rain falls and revives the earth, to see how the sun and moon follow precise courses, and to examine how living beings are created. These aren't mere poetic expressions, but clear invitations to investigate natural phenomena. At a time when superstition shaped much of human thought, the insistence on studying the world through patterns and signs was revolutionary. Today, modern science does exactly that, identifying laws, measuring processes, and uncovering the hidden mechanics of existence. The Qur'an's language almost feels like a precursor to the scientific method itself. Another layer of this is how the text emphasizes knowledge as a form of empowerment. From its very first revelation, the call was not to wealth, power, or conquest, but to reading and learning. The act of acquiring knowledge was described as a gift, a light that elevates human beings above ignorance. Compare this to how civilizations rise and fall throughout history. Those who invested in knowledge thrived, while those who neglected it faded. The alignment between this timeless principle and our modern reality is undeniable. The nations that lead today are those that prioritize science, research, and innovation. Even more intriguing is how the Qur'an speaks about the preservation of knowledge. It refers to records being kept, words never being lost, and truth being safeguarded. In our time, we see how information is now stored beyond physical books, digitally archived, transmitted instantly, and preserved in a way that seems eternal. The vision of knowledge surviving across generations, untouched and accessible, resonates strongly in an age where technology ensures nothing is truly forgotten. What was once unimaginable in the past has become an everyday part of life, yet the words that allude to it were spoken long before. The Qur'an also highlights the limits of human understanding, acknowledging that there will always be mysteries beyond reach. For every discovery made, new questions arise. This humility before the vastness of creation mirrors the mindset of true science. Even the greatest scientists admit that what they know is only a fraction compared to the unknown. The text reflects this balance beautifully, urging exploration but reminding humanity of its boundaries. It is this balance that keeps human beings curious, pushing forward, yet aware of their place within the larger design. When examining the relationship between the Qur'an and modern technology, one of the most striking elements is how the text speaks about human progress as part of a larger plan. It doesn't isolate spiritual life from practical life. Instead, it ties the two together, showing how advancements in knowledge, tools, and communication are all part of the unfolding story of humanity. In a world where inventions transform societies almost overnight, it is remarkable to see verses that describe how human beings will be given the ability to achieve things that once seemed impossible. The idea that mankind would be able to harness forces, travel great distances, and uncover secrets of the earth and sky reflects a vision that goes beyond the knowledge of its time. Consider how the text speaks about the transportation of people and goods, describing scenarios where vast distances can be covered with ease. In the past, this might have been understood in the context of ships or camels, but in light of modern developments, it resonates with airplanes, high-speed trains, and even space travel. Journeys that once required months can now be completed in hours. The very notion of shrinking time and space through human invention aligns with these descriptions in ways that feel profoundly relevant today. Communication is another area where the parallels are impossible to ignore. The Qur'an describes how voices, words, and messages would be carried and spread far and wide, something unimaginable in a time without even basic printing technology. Today, we live in a reality where someone can speak in one corner of the world and be heard instantly across continents. Social media, satellites, and global networks have made human connection borderless. The fact that such ideas were hinted at long before modern communication systems even existed adds a powerful dimension to the discussion of foresight within the text. The preservation of records is another theme that speaks directly to technological advancement. There are references to knowledge being written, guarded, and never lost even when people themselves pass away. In today's age, information is stored in ways that are almost indestructible: cloud servers, digital backups, and encrypted systems that ensure data remains even if entire libraries are destroyed. The permanence of recorded truth, described so long ago, finds a real-world expression in the way we now preserve knowledge through advanced technology. Perhaps even more fascinating are the allusions to human exploration of the skies and the earth. The text challenges mankind to venture beyond, to cross boundaries, but also reminds that such feats can only happen with permission and provision. At one time, this seemed purely metaphorical, but today it feels vividly real as humans launch rockets, send satellites into orbit, and prepare missions to other planets. The ability to pierce the skies, once unimaginable, is now documented daily through space travel and scientific research. These parallels create a sense that what we witness today was not unforeseen, but part of a vision that spans centuries. The Qur'an has always stood out for the way it bridges the unseen with the observable, weaving together spiritual truths with elements of the physical world. When exploring its verses through the lens of modern understanding, one cannot help but notice how it consistently points toward realities that science would only confirm centuries later. The text doesn't present knowledge as something confined to rituals or limited to a specific culture. It presents it as universal, open to all, and deeply connected with the order of existence itself. This universality is part of why it continues to speak to minds shaped by technology and scientific inquiry. Take the verse that speaks of the heavens and the earth once being joined together before being separated. To people centuries ago, this might have sounded poetic, but today it aligns closely with the concept of the Big Bang, the very foundation of modern cosmology. That an ancient text would contain imagery so consistent with a theory developed through complex mathematics and telescopic evidence is a point that continues to spark deep reflection. It is not just the alignment that fascinates people, but also the way the language remains vivid and relatable across centuries of human development. Water as the origin of life is another example that resonates with extraordinary clarity. The Quran describes every living thing being created from water, a statement that seems simple in its time, but has become a cornerstone of modern biology. Scientists today confirm that water is essential for all known forms of life, and the search for extraterrestrial existence revolves largely around the presence of water. What was once a passing observation is now recognized as one of the most fundamental truths of biology, proving its enduring relevance in an age of laboratories and exploration. Equally compelling are the references to the alternation of night and day, the precise movement of celestial bodies, and the stability of orbits long before humans built observatories or calculated planetary motion. The Quran spoke of the balance and order within the cosmos. Today, astrophysics reveals the mathematical precision of these systems, the way gravitational forces maintain stability, and how even the slightest deviation could lead to chaos. The text descriptions of these patterns carry an accuracy that feels astonishing when placed against the backdrop of its time of revelation. Even the human experience is described in ways that find echoes in modern science. The heart is not just portrayed as a physical organ, but as central to human perception and decision-making, a concept modern research is beginning to explore as connections between the brain and the heart reveal a deeper interdependence. The stages of sleep, the alternation between deep rest and light awareness, and the restorative power of sleep itself are also emphasized in ways that reflect findings in neuroscience and medicine. The more science advances, the more these words seem to unfold new dimensions of meaning, keeping them alive and relevant across every era of discovery. The deeper one studies the Qur'an, the more evident it becomes that its language is layered, offering meaning both to the ordinary listener and to the mind searching for scientific and philosophical insight. It does not restrict its audience to a specific group of people or time. Instead, it speaks in a way that continues to reveal new understandings as human knowledge grows. This quality is what makes it stand apart, because while countless texts lose relevance as centuries pass, this one seems to expand in meaning with every discovery humanity makes. Each generation finds verses that speak directly to the challenges and realities of its own time, and in our era dominated by technology, the connections become even clearer. One of the recurring themes is the constant reminder that the natural world operates with precision, order, and balance. The Quran points to the fine-tuned systems that sustain life, from the alternation of seasons to the cycle of water, from the stability of the earth to the vastness of the skies. Today, scientists describe these as ecosystems, gravitational forces, and climate systems, all functioning within delicate limits that allow life to exist. When read in light of modern science, these reminders are not abstract. They highlight principles that researchers and scholars continue to study with awe. The emphasis on reflection is another striking feature. The text doesn't simply provide knowledge, but continually asks human beings to think, to question, and a look for signs in creation. It asks readers to consider how the earth was spread out, how animals were created, how the rain brings life to dead land, and how the stars guide travelers in darkness. These aren't presented as myths or legends, but as observations urging deeper exploration. In the context of modern life, this emphasis feels like a call to scientific curiosity, pushing human beings to study, to research, and to expand their horizons. Equally important is how the Qur'an links technological and intellectual progress to responsibility. It describes knowledge as both a gift and a test, reminding humanity that the ability to harness power and uncover secrets must come with wisdom and accountability. In a world where inventions can be used to heal or to harm, to build or to destroy, this perspective resonates powerfully. The text does not dismiss progress. It frames it within the larger picture of ethics and purpose. In doing so, it provides a timeless reminder that advancement alone is not enough without the guidance of values. The imagery of light and darkness also plays a significant role. Light is often described as a symbol of truth, guidance, and clarity, while darkness represents ignorance and confusion. In today's terms, this can be seen in how technology brings light to hidden knowledge, revealing things once concealed, and yet, at the same time, the misuse of it can plunge societies into confusion. The balance between these two forces is a central theme, reflecting how progress must always be matched with direction. The words continue to shine across ages, never losing their depth or relevance. The Qur'an often shifts attention from the immediate concerns of daily life to the vastness of creation, urging reflection on the universe as a whole. This perspective creates a sense of scale that is as relevant today as it was centuries ago, perhaps even more so in an age where human beings can peer through telescopes into galaxies billions of light years away and explore microscopic worlds with powerful instruments. The text repeatedly emphasizes that signs exist both in the horizons and within the human self, drawing attention to the outer universe and the inner world of the human body and soul. This dual focus mirrors the trajectory of modern science, which advances on two fronts: outward into the cosmos and inward into the intricate workings of life. When speaking about the heavens, the Qur'an describes the sky as a protective canopy, a concept that takes on remarkable meaning with the discovery of the atmosphere and the ozone layer. Science now confirms that without these layers shielding the Earth, harmful radiation would make life impossible. The simple words written centuries ago align with highly complex discoveries in atmospheric science, offering a vision of protection and balance that humanity only came to fully understand in recent times. Such descriptions reveal a depth that transcends the scientific knowledge available in the 7th century. There are also verses that highlight the role of stars, not just as lights in the sky, but as markers and guides. In ancient times, this guidance was understood in the literal sense of navigation across deserts and seas. Today, however, the understanding has expanded to include the way stars inform astrophysics, their light carrying data about the age and composition of the universe. The stars become not only physical guides, but also scientific guides, offering insight into the origins of creation and the destiny of cosmic bodies. The language of the Qur'an leaves space for these layers of meaning to unfold as human understanding grows. On the human level, the text speaks of how mankind was created in stages, from dust to fluid to developed form, and how the diversity of languages, colors, and cultures is a sign of deeper design. In modern terms, this resonates with discoveries in genetics, embryology, and anthropology. DNA research shows the shared origin of humanity, while anthropology maps the spread and diversity of civilizations. What was once expressed in concise phrases now finds resonance in detailed scientific findings, reinforcing the notion that human life is both unified and diverse by design. Even the concept of time is addressed in a way that invites reflection. The Qur'an describes days with measures beyond human comprehension, hinting at relativity long before modern physics explained time as something not absolute but variable depending on speed and gravity. What sounded abstract to early listeners gains profound clarity in the age of Einstein and modern astrophysics. These connections between timeless words and contemporary science form a bridge that keeps the text alive, challenging readers not only to believe but to explore, to observe, and to continue uncovering the mysteries woven into creation. The more one examines the Qur'an in light of modern knowledge, the more it becomes clear that its verses contain layers that unfold with time. What may have once appeared symbolic often reveals connections to scientific realities that humanity only uncovers after centuries of study. This quality gives it a timeless dimension where each era finds new relevance within its words. In an age defined by rapid technological change, these connections resonate even more strongly as people see descriptions of natural phenomena, human progress, and universal truths that mirror discoveries made with advanced tools and research. One of the most powerful themes is the idea of creation as a continuous process, not a single event. The Qur'an speaks of the heavens being constructed and the universe expanding, an image that gains extraordinary meaning with modern cosmology. The Big Bang theory, once controversial, is now the dominant explanation for the origin of the universe, and observations show that galaxies are indeed moving apart. These discoveries align with words revealed long before telescopes and satellites, offering a perspective that seems to anticipate the scientific understanding of cosmic expansion. There are also descriptions of the deep seas, where waves cover waves and layers of darkness exist beneath. For people of the desert, the depths of the ocean were unimaginable, yet modern oceanography confirms that below a certain depth, sunlight does not penetrate and multiple layers of darkness exist. Internal waves beneath the surface, invisible to the naked eye, create exactly the kind of phenomena described in those verses. Such imagery not only sparks wonder, but also shows how language from centuries ago corresponds with realities uncovered by modern marine science. The Qur'an also speaks of iron being sent down, a phrase that puzzled early commentators. Today, scientists know that iron did not originate on Earth, but was delivered through meteorites from exploding stars. The very core of our planet and much of the technology that drives human progress are made possible because of this celestial event. What once seemed like a poetic statement is now recognized as a literal truth, aligning perfectly with astrophysical findings about the origins of heavy elements. Even in the realm of medicine and human biology, the text presents insights that resonate with current research, references to the healing properties of honey, the benefits of certain natural foods, and the stages of embryonic development all demonstrate a precision that feels extraordinary in light of modern discoveries. Each example reinforces the idea that the words are not random but deeply intentional, pointing human beings toward knowledge that is both practical and profound. Beyond the scientific details, there is also a philosophical dimension that becomes increasingly relevant in today's world. The Qur'an emphasizes that knowledge should lead to humility, not arrogance. Every discovery is presented as a sign, a reminder of something greater, rather than a reason to believe that humanity is self-sufficient. In a time when technology gives people unprecedented power, this perspective is essential. It frames progress not as an end in itself, but as part of a larger journey of understanding, one that continues to unfold with every new discovery.